A very good evening and a very warm welcome to today's episode of KK Med Talks of Baro Buddies. And today we are going to talk about something different, something that we've not really spoken about in the last few episodes. We've been focusing a lot on diet, healthy diet, as to how it is important. But I think one important aspect that is often neglected in the Baro Buddy series is about the exercise. And therefore, today we've got a special guest with us who's going to talk to us about sports, something interesting about adventure sports and his own experience about it, and how important it is to maintain motivation and discipline when we talk of physical activity and strength training. So, friends, join me in welcoming Mr. Prithvi Raj Malhotra, who will be here with us today to talk to us about his own experience and some tips for all of us as to how we can maintain a good Barrow phenotype, a good weight, a good healthy lifestyle, a good health in general when we talk about good physical activity. A very warm welcome to you, Mr. Prithvi Raj Malhotra.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here and happy to share from my experiences and help everyone lead a better lifestyle.
So, first of all, a big thank you for taking our time and joining our show. We have people who've joined us from not only within India, but across the globe. And we have people welcoming you already on the chat. So, first of all, a big thank you. And it was really nice to read your affiliation. Yes, an AI product manager is something uh, which is trending, something which is important for the future. But what
Yeah.
really catches the attention of our audience is adventure sports enthusiasts. So, Prithvi, my first question to you is what all are the adventure sports you have ventured into in the past?
Yeah, so I'd like to divide them into a few which are more recreational and easy for everyone to get into, and some are more extreme and require a certain higher level of difficulty to get accustomed to and to begin with. It all started with a mountaineering course when I was in 11th grade that I took part in, which was 1 month long, divided into rock craft, ice craft, snow craft. And more recently, I've done free diving, which is where you're trying to dive to certain greater depths without any equipment, but just by holding your breath. And on water, additionally, I've done two kite surfing courses and a wind surfing course. So these are more extreme. And in softer forms, there's obviously scuba diving, kayaking, surfing, rock climbing, and a few cliff jumps and waterfall jumps that I've done. Yeah.
Lovely. So I think a lot of learning points here. And the first point that I really pick up from this conversation is you've started really early. Class 11th, we are hardly, we are in our teens. And that's
Yeah.
when probably it hit you first. And maybe I think that is an important message for all our listeners today. If we start early, we are probably better off to, continue it long term and generate some interest rather than, changing habits later on. We all know the saying, old habits die hard. So I
Yeah.
think that's the first one. But yes, definitely the very interesting sports that you mentioned. I'm reminded of a movie, Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara, where there was, some deep sea diving. But then, yes, it all sounds exotic, but I'm sure you require a lot of training to do these, and then you have to do it in the right way. And then once you do it, probably you get the kick of enjoyment when you start doing it, and it becomes better. So I think that is really, really very, very exciting to know. And thank you so much for sharing those points with us. So I think from my clinical experience, I can say that a lot of people actually do start exercises, and they often start with a
Yeah.
bang. Many times, they
Yeah.
get their most expensive shoes and equipment and everything, but then they don't really, continue it after a few days. And I've had people who've got a simple, treadmill, and it's used for uh, the treadmill purpose for a first few weeks, and then it's probably used for drying clothes and everything else in the house. So, how do you motivate yourself to continue doing all this?
I would say you have to find what fits in with you and you have to find what you enjoy doing so that you're more likely to continue it. And like you mentioned, like a movie can become a visual cue to start something new, but then you might not continue it, or like social media also has a role to play where it feeds in a lot of things that people try but then leave. But I would say try different things, uh, build smaller habits first, and uh, then you're more likely to continue doing something that you enjoy and fits in with you, fits in with your routine. And yeah, there are social aspects to it as well. If you can find people that are happy to do it with you, family members, friends, then you're more likely to continue. I would say.
And I think that that is the very essence of this show. Our show is titled Barrow Buddy, which means finding your buddy to kind of help you in this journey of maintaining your good health. And I think that's a
Yeah,
point that you pointed out. Having a family member, having a friend, having a buddy who's with you in this really doubles the pleasure and enjoyment of taking part in these activities. But I think a lot of learning points, again, starting small is
that's
important
true.
so that you are able to do it. You mentioned about the social aspect, how it fits in your schedule. I think that
Yeah,
is also very important. And I think you're getting a lot of greetings from everybody. Dr. Vinny Joglekar is welcoming you on our
thank
show.
you
This
so
is your
much.
first time, and I hope you would agree to join a couple of times again later on.
More
There's
than happy.
lots to discuss in this topic, and we just have 30 minutes today. So let's go on to the next
Yeah,
question. And many times, we talk about uh, what are the barriers that people face when they for obesity, for example, they join the gym, they join the sport club, but then
yeah.
ultimately they don't continue. So what would be barriers that you would say from your experience with people around you that mainly inhibit people to join?
I would say it's obviously fear of judgment, that you're trying something new and other people might not uh, take it very positively or make fun of it, or how within your family itself, people might be passing comments or judging in some softer ways where it disheartens you, and you're less likely to continue something, and even less likely to try something new. So I would say those would be like the bigger barriers. Then additionally, you might feel like you're not good enough, and some voices from within your head that stop you from trying something new or continuing. So I would say it's a combination of external and internal. And if you're able to balance
You're
those
able to
out,
balance
or
those out.
just push through the initial thrust, if you get that as initial thrust, then you're more likely to continue and build those habits which are for your self benefit, and no other person or no other third person is actually benefiting out of those. So
Right. Very, very important points. I think we've learned so much already. Starting early in age, starting with smaller things, starting with things that fit you. And the next point that Mr. Prithvi has just mentioned is the initial thrust, which is important. So just keep going. Don't
yeah,
bother about the people around you. You have a passion, follow it. And once you've done it, and once you've really got out of that initial inertia, thrust, and stigma around it, and then there's no looking back. And I think I can just very recently we published data on obesity, and we look at
yeah,
people where we know people with obesity are often stigmatized. But what we really showed in that study, this is a vicious cycle, because if somebody has stigma, they tend to eat more and get more obese. And once you're
yeah,
more obese, you get stigmatized, and it gets into a vicious cycle. And somehow you have to break that initial cycle thrust just once you do it. So I think the important message for all our listeners today is that it's important to just do the initial bit without thinking so much. And once a
yeah.
couple of days have passed, and I'm sure things would get uh, better. So I think we should move on to our next question. And, our audience can see how lean and fit you are, Mr. Prithvi. But do people with obesity need to train differently from leaner individuals?
Certainly, if you're of a higher weight, you need to manage that within the movements that you inculcate. So finding the right trainer obviously helps in a lot of ways, and you have access to the internet, YouTube, Instagram, whatever social media that you use. You will find people, influencers that are actually there to help as well. So just finding that right right guide in some ways even if it's online, or some YouTube channel that helps you. It 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 would help in a lot of ways to not feel that, oh, my weight is getting in the way of my movement. So working with your weight, I would say, is better than thinking that my weight is the biggest barrier in my movement. Yeah.
Right. So another important point, and getting the right trainer. We look at Indian literature. Many years ago, we talk about, getting the right guru. And I think
Yeah.
that is something which is important because there is so much out there on the social media, so many rights and so many wrongs as well. So you have to
Yeah.
be judgmental to choose the right person. Otherwise, you might land up in a soup. So I think that's also very, very important. Choose your trainer correctly. And once you've got that, I think that guru would guide you, uh, uh, you know, right on the right path.
And
So
additionally, also not necessarily drawing comparisons, I would say, like looking at, like you said, taking the example of a movie actor, or someone who's lean might not necessarily be as fit. You have to find your own kind of fitness, I would say.
lovely, very, very important. I think that's something that in medicine that I say all the time. Today we talk of person-centered medicine. There are no fixed goals, no
Yeah.
same size fits all. And for me, every patient that walks into my clinic, has a different, bar of what they have to achieve. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what, in physical activity also we should do. So brilliant answers, Mr. Prithvi. Learning a little bit from your own experience, have you had any setbacks? And how did you address them? What would you say about that?
I've had a lot of injuries, be it my knee or while I was playing football. I've had multiple fractures as well. So growing up, I learned that you have to work around them, and how my coaches would also in childhood address those. Like if your hand, if there's a fracture on my shoulder, they'll still ask me to jog because my feet are working. Or if I have a problem in my knee, now I would, if I'm still going to work out, I would try to train other parts of the body. Or you find something stationary that still is using your mind. Like I tried out shooting, just because it requires less movement, but your mind is completely engaged, and you're increasing your focus as well. So I would say working around it, and then trying to rehabilitate it takes a lot of discipline, I would say. But the results are great over there, because you go from no movement to building that brick by brick foundation, and you just feel stronger later on after your injury, after you addressed it. Once you get back, you have a stronger mind, you have a stronger outlook towards things, and your body is also better than before. Yeah.
Right. A lot of positive energy from you, Mr. Prithvi. So making, a lemon into a lemonade. So if anybody is actually throwing lemons onto you, if you have got an injury, you still look at the positive aspect. When you get out of it, you get
Yeah.
more positive that you've overcome it and now you're more fit. But I think another very important point that you mentioned, that if you do get injury, it's just one part of the body. If it's in the lower limb, your upper limb, exercise is done. If it's upper limb, you can still jog, as you said. I think that's an important point. Everything. And I think that's something that we should not do. So, very, very important points that we are learning today here. And again, there are comments in the chat box. And there's a question for you where they've asked that, somebody who is active now, but has been active only after the age of 60 or after retirement. And at that age,
Yeah.
people are more prone to falls. They may have sarcopenia. So, what would be your advice to that person who is starting at a much later age in life?
I would say you do smaller movements, find the right guidance, and not necessarily try to take risks which might hamper your future movements. Then there are resistance bands that you can start with, which are easy to use. There are static movements where you are trying to just, you're not using weight or resistance, just by tightening your muscle, for example, your leg or your ankle. You lift, like very, very basic movements. You can start with those, and I know they give they don't give that endorphin release, or you don't necessarily feel that exercise high, but they go a long way. I've realized with my injuries how important those movements are, working around the smaller muscles, working around the joints, the muscles around the joints. And just, yeah, you can start with very basic static movements, and in the right guidance, I would say, like with age, and if you have certain restrictions, then starting small, seeing that progress and building on it is better than taking that risk or just following something blindly, and not being able to continue it. Yeah.
Completely agree. And what I could add to that is, speak to your doctor about it. Get your
Yeah.
bone health assessed, get your muscle mass assessed, see how you are, what you can do in terms of your deficiencies of vitamins, how your calcium intake, your nutrition can be improved so that your chance of injury is less. And even if you have injury, if your osteoporosis is well addressed, then you may not have that chance of fracture. So do speak to your doctor as well. And definitely, as Mr. Prithvi said, start small and start more safer stuff and go gradual. I think slower the better. We are not here to actually run a sprint, but we are talking about running a marathon, so we just going a bit slow but going it for a much longer time. So I would like to ask my next question, and I see that we're really running short of time. There's so much to ask you, Mr. Prithvi, but then, nevertheless, from your experience over the years, what practical tools will you suggest that help turn workouts into a more disciplined habit?
So when I feel like my discipline went down, I've used trackers, like an Apple Watch or any other fitness tracker, that helps you just keep a tab on how you're going and if there's regularity or not. Then additionally, trying out different things. Like I said, if I'm just bored of working out in the gym, I would like to start running. If I'm bored of running in the same place, you find some other path to run. These smaller tweaks to your movements or to your exercise pattern really go a long way in keeping yourself motivated, or just trying out different sports. That all these kind of things really help, I feel.
Completely agree. And maybe just an added question to that, from your experience and background on artificial intelligence, would you say the wearables, the apps, and the step counters, are they really useful, or just gadgets and they're just not helpful? What would you say about that?
I feel like for a first time user, if it helps you keep yourself motivated, or if you're using an app that builds a positive reward system in your mind externally, then I feel is really helpful for that particular person, if it's helping them keep at it. But I would not suggest over reliance on them where you're constantly checking them, or even while working out. I've seen a lot of people keep looking at it. Oh, what's my heart rate now? Or after a certain movement or running, that, oh, now how much have I done? It helps to keep track, I would say, but I would suggest not to over rely on it or create a dependency on it, which might affect you negatively, actually, rather than positively.
Absolutely agree. And I think now we have no newer terminologies in the domain of psychiatry because of overzealous use of these kind of apps, and then people are kind of becoming more obsessive, more compulsive to keep checking, and that is taking more of their energy rather than focusing on the main thing. So I think very rightly said, everything in moderation is good. Use it to track, but not just totally depend on it, and I think that's very, very important.
I
I
would
think,
just like to add, like, there are social apps as well, which help you with discovery or to try out different sports. If those are active wherever you are, then I would suggest trying out those. And they help you connect also with other people who are running or cycling around you. So that just helps build a community as well. So communal aspect of these apps and trackers is better, I would say, rather than the
I
dependence on
completely
them.
agree, and I know so many marathon runners. They are running in different cities, but they're still connected
Yeah.
through these apps,
Yeah.
and it becomes like a community, and that really helps and does give you at endorphin release that needed to continue your motivation. I think our episode is also very focused on the Baro buddy aspect, and sometimes it's really hard to convince your people who are in and around you, near and dear ones, who need to get into this tract of doing good physical activity and strength training. But often it's very difficult to convince them. But I know that you've been able to convince some people like that. So, what are your secrets of how you convince people to join something that's helpful for them? I think that would be very helpful for the healthcare professionals who've logged in today to try and understand how can they tell their patients and really make them do it, because otherwise it's just a paper prescription, do regular exercise, and it doesn't translate into practice.
Yeah, it took me time to realize that it's general human nature to become rebellious to something that multiple people are saying, and in ways where you are made to feel that if you're not doing it, you're doing something wrong. So I feel that that does not create a particularly positive atmosphere where, like, multiple family members could also be telling someone that you need to work out, you need to exercise. Friends also saying you need to exercise, you need to exercise. So I think that repetitive aspect from multiple people just becomes demotivating for someone. Then I feel if there's one person that can get through to them in softer ways, and instead of just telling them, can help them find a place or help them find the right guidance, or uh, yeah, just the can structure it or trick them into believing that it's something positive, then I feel it goes a long way. Because those initial 2 3 months, anyone who has not exercised for a very long time, once they start seeing the positive results on their lifestyle, not just uh, like things like sleep, appetite, how energetic they feel. Once they start seeing those things, I feel they're more likely to stay hooked into it. So yeah, the right guidance probably, and just finding that one person that is able to get through to them, it goes a long way.
Absolutely. So, all my fellow colleagues, healthcare professionals who've joined in, I think the message that we're learning today from Mr. Prithvi is here that it requires a little more handholding. We can
Yeah.
just say in our busy clinics that you can do it, you should do it. But then, if we take another step as to where and how you can do it, I think there's a higher chance for your patient to be able to follow. Yes, it has to be softly fed in, because already, as Mr. Prithvi said, many people would have told the same thing to the patient. I think it's more important not to tell that you should do it, but tell the benefits, tell the positive side of it, and once they are able to see the benefits themselves, then there is definitely no looking back. There is good motivation to keep going. I think we've learned a lot of points today, right from starting as to how we get started with physical activity, how we can motivate ourselves, talking about how the social stigma is important, going slow, starting with something that's feasible within your schedule. That is something important. We've learned about how not to be so dependent on the electronic apps and do everything in moderation. I think if we keep following this slowly and steadily, we are definitely going to do very well. Prachi Pandey is also greeting you. And so, maybe the last question to you, Mr. Prithvi, that what would be your one core message that you'd like to tell about sports, discipline, and obesity for all our listeners who've joined in today?
I would say start small. I would say try different things, because that also really helps. You might have resistance to one aspect or one sport or one kind of movement, but if you try something else, you find something else online, try that. In terms of discipline, I would say it's something movement compounds. You don't build strength over a day, or you don't start enjoying something also in one day, or like in 1 hour. You can't say if you enjoy something or not. Give it some time, stay at it, let it compound, and you'll start seeing the benefits and the results of it. And it goes a long way throughout your life. You'll look back, probably 3 months down the line, you'll see improvement in certain aspects. 1 or 2 years down the line, you'll see that it's become like a part of your life, and how it just compounds and adds to different aspects of your life positively as well.
Brilliant, brilliant points, I would say, Mr. Prithvi. Thank you so much for all those insights. I think all of us from the audience are enriched today listening to you, your special tips that you've given. I think you deserve a certificate from the IJCP group. Can we have this certificate, please, for Mr. Prithviraj?
Thank you so much. Thank
Right.
you.
Thank you so much. And I think we would love to have you back discussing more in depth about some aspects. But today was definitely covering the bigger picture of talking about sports, adventure sports, about motivation, about discipline, and how to continue it long term. Thank you so much for joining. And we would call it a day today, but we would have the next episode of KK Med Talks tomorrow, and the next Baro Buddy episode on next Wednesday. Thank you so much. Good
Thank you
night.
so
Bye
much
bye.
for having me. Good night. Thank you.